started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for another one of our Coffee Night Let's Chat series. My name is Tristan from Pflag, York Region, and tonight we're joined by sex educator Tim Lagman. Tim is a certified... Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for another one of our Coffee Night Let's Chat series. There we go. Amateur mistake where I had audio on the other feed. So Tim is a certified sex educator with the American College of Sexologists International and a pleasure advocate based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He began his sexual journey through escorting, where he worked with a number of clients from different backgrounds in all walks of life, ranging from couples, individuals, poly relationships, and everything in between. He then went to study at Durham College, where he received his diploma in business management, specializing in the music industry, and graduated with honors. In his free time, Tim likes to volunteer and give back to the community through outreach in Toronto's LGBTQ2 scene, providing sex education and harm reduction resources to the public. It is his mission in life to make sex fun and funny, as he loves to make people laugh and believes in the curative powers of laughter. So thank you, Tim, for joining us here tonight and joining us for our talk and talking to kids about Sex 101. A little bit of context for everyone joining us, just in case you're wondering where this topic came from. A couple months ago at one of our coffee nights, topic just casually came up about talking about sex with our parents and how those conversations may have looked like. And everyone who was sharing, whether it was a parent or whether it was a child or whether it was an adult who are thinking about these conversations that they may or may not have had with their parents, they described having these conversations or even initiating them as very awkward, or perhaps maybe even being afraid of not having the knowledge behind them to really support the conversations. So that's where tonight really comes from. It's not the full be-all to end-all of everything you need to know, but it's really a great starting point for anyone who is looking to take control of that aspect of parenting and to make sure that they're providing their kids with everything they need to know through their development. And so, Tim, thank you very much for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say thank you to Pflag for allowing me to host this workshop. It is such an honor. I love teaching all about sex education. And like my introduction, yes, I am Tim. I am an ACS certified sex educator. What that means is that I am certified to teach about all things sex, but that doesn't mean I'll know everything. I am also a lifetime student. I am always learning about sex, but that also means I'm just a wealth of information. So today we are going to be learning on how to talk to kids about sex. Why we should be talking to kids about sex is so important, because we want to bring kids up in an environment that is sex positive so that we can eliminate all remnants of shame within kids, and that they carry these skills to become healthy and empowered and liberated adults. So first of all, why should we be talking to kids about sex? Let's look back as to what the state of sex education is right now. Sex education in North America is, in my opinion, absolutely abysmal. Let's look at the states. In the US, 39 states plus the District of Columbia mandate sex education and or HIV education. That means 11 of the 50 states don't even have sex ed to begin with. Of the 39 states that allow sex ed and HIV education, only 18 of those states are required to be medically accurate. That means 21 states of the 39 states are giving false and inaccurate sex information. That is wild. I don't know how this is allowed, but this is happening right now in the States. Looking here in our native land of Canada, Canada's currently not meeting the human rights standards for sex education. In Ontario, our curriculum has gone back to the 1998 model. In the 1998 model, there is literally no mention of same-sex relationships, no mention of gender identity, not even sexting, especially at a time of a pandemic when we are connected to our screens all the time, when we are connected to our phones, when kids are like, especially preteens and teens and young adults, they are experiencing this development in their life when they're stunted from like being around their social circle and they have to rely purely on their phones. How is the government not addressing this? So it is up to us as parents, as caregivers, to be the beacons of light for the kids, for the young adults, to teach them about sex education. Now, you're probably asking, what's wrong with it now? I mean, I kind of like where sex education is right now. Well, because of how I said it's absolutely abysmal and I truly don't like the sex education standard right now, there's actually a lot of negative impact when it comes to substandard sex education. For example, in a study in British Columbia here in Canada, 30,000 young people, grades 7 through 12, were surveyed. And the results of the survey are as follows: 57% of the 30,000 young people don't know where to go for STI testing. 52% don't know where to go for emergency contraception. Oh boy. 38% don't know where to go for condoms and other contraceptives. And then 47% don't know where to access birth control. 30,000, look, 57% or 38 to 57, that's like half. Let's round that up to 15,000 kids. 15,000 kids don't know where to find STI testing, where to go for emergency contraception, where to go for birth control. This is like, it's truly wild that like we're allowing this to happen. There's like an increase in STIs since the 1990s. They've been on a rise. 63% of new cases of chlamydia, 49% of new cases are gonorrhea, 14.9% of new cases of syphilis, the one that you don't want, are 15 to 24-year-olds. Oh my gosh. And then to top it all off, in this study, they found that young women, so we're thinking young women 13 and below, were 8 times more likely than boys to be the victims of a sexual offense. So, and 46 of high school girls, 13 and up, in Ontario alone, are victims of sexual harassment. Harassment being like catcalling, inappropriate touch, or like an unsolicited nude photo that they receive on their phone. So, this is why I am advocating for a much better standard for sex education. The government's not going to do it, school's not going to do it. So we have to be the ones to do it. We have to be the ones as parents and caregivers to provide that space for learning about our bodies and for kids to learn about sexual health. But you're probably wondering, how do I start? I'm like kind of nervous, and I'm like I'm a little ill when it comes to sex. Like you get like you feel icky, right? You feel a little like, I don't know how to even carry this conversation. As much as I care about my kid, I don't really know how to feel about talking about sex. Or like you're probably struggling with using the words for penis and vagina. That's okay. Let's lay down some ground rules first before we start talking to our kids. So, some great tips to carry the conversation with your kids. First and foremost, do not panic. When they come to you with a question like, um, where do babies come from? Don't don't panic. They're not having sex. They're truly just curious as to where babies come from. And I feel like that should be rewarded, because questions like that means that the kids are curious. They're wondering about, the mysteries of life and the world beyond them. And that just goes to show that you've got a really smart kid. And I love that. The next step, or the next hot tip, is to reply and affirm. What do I mean by that? When they ask a question that is sex related, don't just go jump the shark and be like, where did you hear that? Or No, 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 don't ask me that. No, no, no. Reply and affirm means thank them for asking the question, and then reinforce like where is it that where are they in their thought process. So okay, let's say um your kid asks, oh, I saw my friend's penis go up during recess. Oh, what does that mean? You as a parent or a caregiver can simply say, oh, that's a great question, what do you think that means for him? You don't have to know the answer, just go with the flow. Don't panic, it's going to be okay. And then you're allowed to get curious with them, you know? Start asking them questions like, what do you think that means? Or where do you think that comes from? It's a journey that you and your kid can go on together. Keeping it casual is also a very, very important step. You don't want to ask your kid or have a sex talk with your kid like, I don't know, after church or, you know, during playtime. Try doing it in neutral ground, like in the car. You know, you're driving your kid to grandma's or something, or like just after school. Keep it in neutral territory so that there's no like uneven balance of power, and that your kid and yourself can feel comfortable having this very vulnerable conversation. And listen to understand. Now, when I say listen to understand, I'm referring to not rushing to conclusions. Okay. Don't rush to conclusions. Don't be so quick to give advice. Find out why they're asking the questions that they're asking. For example, if they say, or if they ask a question like, where did I come from? That question might not necessarily be about baby making. You know, that could actually be more like um, my racial heritage or something, or my culture. See, you don't be so quick to jump the gun and be like, oh boy, is this that conversation? Is this the time to have that now? It's okay. Again, listen to understand. Next up is practice what you preach. If you're going to like open the conversation and keep it lighthearted and, you know, try to be inclusive, don't just do it in the space that you and your kid have in that conversation. Do it outside. You know, be mindful of the people around you and where they're coming from on their sexual journey, because we're all on a different journey wherever we are on our sexual exploration. Next up is keep it fun. We are going to be going over how to keep it fun later in the workshop, so stay tuned for that. Another tip is don't judge, you know, like these are kids. They're curious. They don't know any better. That's why we have to be there for them. Yes, they are getting intelligent very, very quickly, but we're at a different stage of our sexual exploration to where they are. Like, take it easy. Give them cut them some slack, you know? An open door policy is great to invite kids to have that sense of trust, that foundation, you know? They will come to the parent or the caregiver with a great sense of like, oh, okay, I can ask this grown up anything I want to ask because I trust them. I can literally ask the most uncomfortable question and I will know that they'll be there for me. And that's great. Last, but definitely not least, but I feel is the most important tip. It's okay if you don't know. It is totally fine if you don't know the answer to the question. There are some questions I don't know myself. I have clients that have asked me like questions about kink or what have you, and I don't know. But what I tell them is that thanks for asking me that. That is a great question. I currently don't have the answer, but what I can do is look it up and come back to you, right? You can do the same thing with kids. You look it up, make sure that you do follow up with this unknown answer and come back to them and explore more of that question with them. All right. So now that we have some tips, now we know how to carry the conversation, let's start to go into what we can talk about. So the way we're going to be dividing up the next few minutes are by age and by topic. Okay. So we're going to be dividing up first by toddlers, which is birth to 3 years old, mid childhood, preteens, and then young adults. And for each of these ages, we are going to be covering body parts, safety and consent, identity, intimacy, and media literacy. Okay. So it's all going to be the same, but we're just going to divide it up into the ages and what is age appropriate for them. So let's start with toddlers. So a toddler's birth to 3 years old. This is a great time to talk about, or not to talk about, to use the right words. Okay. Don't cutesify your body parts. Like, I truly don't like it when parents say like peeper or what Oprah says as like the JJ. And I'm like, penis and vagina are not bad words. Fingers, arms, shoulders, nose, mouth, these are all the names of our body parts. Why is it that we start to use alternative names for our genitals? It's okay to say penis and vagina. It's there. That's what it's named. So why not, use it? When we use slang like this, like to cutesify it, it centers shame on that. Like, you're not supposed to say the actual name. You're not supposed to say what it really means. And it makes them ashamed of their genitals, and it'll start to make them feel ashamed of other parts of their body. So we have to start calling it by its natural name so that it's normalized. Speaking of normalized, we have to start normalizing bodily functions. Bodily functions are like peeing or pooping. Like, your toddler is definitely going to soil themselves. What's important is that we do not shame them for their bodily functions. Like, they start to, have a little mucus running down their nose, or they accidentally wet the bed, or they poop their pants at school. The reason why we should start normalizing this is because when kids see this in school or whatever, wherever else that they are, and then the people around them, like, they back up in disgust, like, ew, it makes them feel ashamed of having a natural bodily function. And we don't want that, right? We want them to learn that, like, this is my body. Yeah, I lost control of my sphincter muscles, but it happens to everyone. Like, even the geriatric people, they lose control of their bodily functions all the time. It's okay for kids to lose their bodily function, or to lose control of their bodily functions. It's normal. And also, touching themselves. They're not necessarily masturbating, if that's what you're scared of. When they touch themselves, they're probably just like trying to get a feel of who they are as a person. Like, okay, I have a wrist, I have an arm, I have a shoulder, I also just happen to have a penis. I probably don't even know what it's called because I'm a little baby and I can't speak yet. So, like, I have this thing between my legs, I have knees and toes, right? So let them explore. It's totally normal, much in the same way where they start putting things in their mouth. That's how we learn as little kids and babies. We like put, I don't know, a Lego block in our mouth, or start to wonder what things taste like, much in the same way that they start to wonder what things feel like. Another thing to take note of at the toddler stage is that they can start to recognize genital differences. And what I mean by that is, like, you're probably going to hear the question like, oh, daddy has a penis and mommy has, or does not have a penis. They're pretty aware at this stage of the differences in people's bodies, and that's great. You know, uh, their ability to recognize differences should be celebrated. It should be a sign that their brain is developing at a really rapid rate, if they're being aware of like, oh, penis, vagina, boy, girl. Help reinforce that by going through, like, say, the members of your family. So is daddy a boy? Does daddy have a penis? Is mommy a boy? Does mommy have a penis? They can start to like build the pieces together themselves, and you're just acting as a guide. So that's it for body parts. Next up, we have safety and consent. Now, toddlers probably not going to know the concept of consent at this age, but it is super important that you, as a parent slash caregiver, do the work around consent for them. And I'm pretty sure that, like, you as a parent, you probably like, I don't know, if you were the parent that was carrying the child, did you enjoy it when random strangers would like rub your belly while you were pregnant? No, right? I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, strangers would be like, "Oh, what a cute baby! Can I play with?" And then you're like, "No, no, 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 no! Don't do that." It is super important that we reinforce the concept of, sorry, safety and consent now, while they're young, so that we can start to emulate that later in their later stages of life. You can tell a stranger or a family member, "Please ask me before you touch my child." You might not be aware of this, but the kids are going to take notice of that. They're going to take note that, like, okay, mommy and daddy are watching over me. They care about me. And that's going to, you know, leave a very sweet impression on them later in life. All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about identity to the kids. So with identity, at this age, they're already able to know the difference between being a boy and a girl. Now, I am speaking in the binary here. Sadly, that is the way the world works, but they at least have an idea of what it means to be a boy or a girl through the way that they're treated. So think of like the things that we get boys, trucks, or like action figures, and the things that we get girls for Christmas or their birthday. Ballerina shoes, a dollhouse, you know, they're already aware of like what it means to be a boy or a girl because of how we as adults are treating them. So this is actually a great way to reassess how we as adults, parents and caregivers, how we uphold those standards of gender stereotypes. You know, um, like, they're probably going to notice, oh, mom does the cooking and the cleaning while dad is going to drive me, and then he's the one to fix all this stuff. Are we helping reinforce gender stereotypes, or is there a way that we can start to reimagine those gender roles within the family? Again, that's totally up to you. That's your own exploration. That's up to you to unpack, but at least you know, or you're aware of like where this is going. Sorry, just gotta get some tea there. All right. So next up, we have intimacy. Now, when I say intimacy, it's not like physical intimacy, like, sensual touch and everything. Intimacy is what I would like to consider as emotional vulnerability. Actions do speak louder than words. So, as a parent slash caregiver, I want you to think of how you are fostering a healthy, intimate relationship around the kids. Are you being open in your communication? Are you being honest? Are you being vulnerable? Or could you be raising your voice a lot? Could you be abrasive and always like on the attack? So, again, this at this age, they're probably not going to understand the concept of intimacy, but at least they're going to see in their family what it means to have a beautiful, intimate, healthy relationship. Right? And then we have media literacy. In this day and age, we are so tuned into technology, like this live stream, Zoom, like to the people at home watching this right now, see how much like technology you're consuming. You should also think about how much time you spend in front of a screen and how the kids are going to mirror that. You should think about like how exposed they're going to be to misinformation, to like to content that's not age appropriate. It is your responsibility as the parent to control that. And you should start early. So early, in a few slides ago, I was talking about how to keep it fun. Um, with each stage of their ages, I am going to be talking about like how to keep things fun. So head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You know, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That's a great way to start using the proper body parts. You can even include the genitals in there, right? You can be like head, shoulders, knees, toes, penis, vagina, or whatever. It's great to like incorporate the proper names in just a harmless little game. There's also the body bubble where the kid can say, "You, this is my bubble. You cannot touch me here, but you're allowed to hold my hand or you're allowed to pat me on the head." It gives them autonomy over their body. So that's a great way to enforce their own awareness of their body. So the next stage of their life is mid-childhood. Going back to body parts, now that they know the names, we can tell them how to take care of it, how to wash, how to, have personal hygiene. Because as great as it is that we have, a penis and a vagina or whatever else, we are, we're animals, we're humans, we're going to get dirty. We have to keep ourselves clean the way we brush our teeth, the way we shower, and the way we have to clean our genitals, right? um, being creative will help. You can like use Legos or paint to make any sort of sex talk more engaging because kids are absorbing images a lot. So for example, going back to the cleaning part, you can use like a stack of Legos. If you don't have like a model penis at home at the ready, you can use like a stack of Legos to be like, this is the penis, and then this is how you clean it. You can start to, in like use a spray bottle or as like a shower. I don't know. I'm just improvising here, but that's the way that you can keep the kids entertained while being a source of education. Mid-childhood is actually the age where I and a bunch of my friends have asked the big question, where do babies come from? So as a parent or a caregiver, this could throw you in for a curveball. And it's fine. It's fine if it catches you off guard. But again, know that the kids are getting curious. So when they ask, where do babies come from? Reply and affirm. That's a great question. Where do you think babies come from? And you never know. The response could be like absolutely hilarious or like just totally out of this world. But no matter the result of their answer, you can carry the conversation from there. It's fine if you say when mommy and daddy love each other very much, they have sex, and you don't have to go into the details of like, penis entering a vagina and sperm meets egg. You don't have to, because somewhere around when mommy and daddy love each other very much, the kids are probably going to be like, ew, no, and they're going to tune out. Be attentive to when they tune out so that when it is safe to resume that conversation, you can read their body language and be like, okay, this is where, we need to work on this. So again, totally fine if you don't know how to answer where do babies come from, but at least you are engaging them. Back to safety and consent. This is a great way for kids to have some more power over their body rather than you. It doesn't have to be sexual in nature. Think of letting them have control of who and who can't give them a hug, who and who can't give them a high five. Tell them that if they don't want to do something, they're able to say no. Don't ever force them to, like, hug the really weird relative that they're scared of. Don't force them to do that. Doesn't even have to be physical contact. If you want to say take a selfie, it is super important that you ask them, hey, sweetie, can I take a picture with you? They say yes, they say no, whatever. It gives them the power over their body and gives them choice. And we're all about choice here. And another bit on safety and consent, proper bathroom behavior. When I talk about proper bathroom behavior, it lets them know that there are people who need privacy. When they know that themselves. Like, oh, I really need to pee. This is an alone time thing that I need to do. So I'm going to go to the bathroom and put the occupied sign on. I shouldn't disturb anyone and nobody should disturb me. Again, that goes back into consent and learning how to take control of your body and be safe. Next up, we have identity. This is a stage in their life where they're like, now that they know the difference between being a boy and a girl, they're probably going to start to wonder, can I play with girl things? Can I play with boy things? Let them. They're just, they're kids. They're probably not like aware of, you know, the term non-binary until they like discover it themselves, or being a trans kid, but be that source of light and that sort of like safe space for them to explore that. If your son wants to play with the Barbie doll, let him. If your daughter wants to play or wants to go skateboarding, sure, why not? They're just kids. Let them have fun for the next little while. They're only kids for such a short amount of time. It's it's time's gonna fly by before you even know it. Okay. And intimacy at mid-childhood is about asking them about the friends that they make in school. Who do you like spending time with, or what makes them a good friend? See how they're communicating their feelings right now. Right. And then we also have their media consumption at this age. You're going to start to be, or you're going to have to be a little more critical. Like, say that you are watching the news together. You don't have to, like, get an answer out of them, but it is important to ask these open-ended questions, like, who do you think this is for? Like a cartoon doesn't even have to be the news. Like, they're watching, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or something. Or how did Mickey Mouse make you feel? Or why do you think the people who made this cartoon made it the way like this? All you have to do is be present and listen, nothing more. Fun games to try at mid-childhood is the feelings wheel, because at this point they're probably familiar with like happy, sad, angry, like those three feelings. But we all know that like feelings are a little more complicated than that. So a feelings wheel has like, think of it like a spectrum, somewhere in between happy and sad, or somewhere in between angry and happy. That can help gauge them, gauge their feelings a little more accurately. Simon Says is also great for reinforcing consent. Simon Says, raise your hand. Simon Says, hold your arms, touch your nose. And then, oh, nope, Simon didn't say touch your nose. You would think that it's just a harmless game, but it's actually a great way to segue into consent. And that is truly amazing for kids to learn about consent in such a fun and like engaging way. All right, now we have preteens, ages 9 through 12. So this is going to be like a a stage in their life where they're going to be very like vulnerable because of their bodies changing. They're going to have like, you know, different thoughts, hormones rushing, and like everything's going to pop up. So it is very important for you as a parent slash caregiver to meet them where they're at in terms of their exploration. Have an open conversation about puberty. You know, they're going to notice that their voice starts to drop. They get hair growing in different places that they've never seen before, pubic hair, you know, arm hair, armpit hair, hair everywhere. They're going to get acne, and then their mood's going to change. Like, let them know that this is all part of life. This is totally normal. uh Kids who are born with vaginas and uteruses, they're going to menstruate. It's going to happen. Let them know that this is a natural, you know, cycle of life, and it's it's normal. Back to our very first you know, slide of like toddlers normalizing bodily functions. We were thinking of peeing and pooping and mucus. Now comes menstruation. It's totally okay. And also let them know that masturbation is totally normal. Masturbation is is a form of safe sex if you think about it, right? Like they're gonna be touching themselves and exploring what it means to feel pleasure. It's like no other form of safe sex, or it's the best form of safe sex rather, you know, because they're doing it by themselves. They're also, this is also a great way to tell them that sex is not just for baby making, because there's a chance that they could walk in on mom and dad like having sex, but that doesn't necessarily mean that mom and dad want another kid. You can tell them that, you know, sex is also a way for individuals to express their love for each other and how they respect each other's needs. Safety and consent at the preteen stage, now that they know how to say no, and like, you know, they know that they have control of their body, they should also know how to respect other people's consent and their boundaries. Safe sex is for consenting adults only. Let's get that out of the way. It is only for grown-ups. Mm-hmm. um, but consent doesn't just mean no. It also includes like a very affirmative, enthusiastic yes. So pay attention to body language. Like, what does this mean? Crossed arms or an open gesture, right? That's a very affirming and enthusiastic yes. And sadly, some adults, they don't really understand the concept of consent. So it's very important that your preteens know how to avoid an untrustworthy adult. Give them a space, or like a strategy rather, where they can run away, find a trusted adult, have a phone number to memorize, say 911 or your own personal cell phone, and let them like, and run that routine with them. So like if they see an adult that's like a little sketchy or a little shady, at least they know how to find a safe space immediately in the moment, right? Because an adult who doesn't respect a child's boundaries is an untrustworthy adult. This is also a really important stage in their identity, because they're probably going to start playing around with fashion. They're going to, you know, figure out like how they want to look and how they want to express themselves to the world. Be that safe space for them. And also with their identity comes like expressions of attraction, you know, how we like each other, or how do we show that we like each other, like through hugs or hand holding. It's not just mom and dad, it's also mom or dad or whatever. There's even like how asexuality like is how asexuality is communicated, right? Like, you know, there are people who don't just want to have sex, they or are not interested in sex at all, they just want to hold hands, or they just want to be there with each other. That's another thing that you can talk to your kids about. um with intimacy again, this is a great way to start finding out like what do they think is the sign of a healthy slash unhealthy relationship. Talk to them about uh, communication, about what it means to feel good, not just sexually, but like, what do you think feels good? What do you think uh, is a good way to communicate your feelings? Doesn't just have to be about sexual intercourse. You can. This is also a nice segue into like STIs and pregnancies, if you so wish to have that conversation with your preteen. And then we also have their media literacy at preteens. They are going to be like very tech literate at this point. So they're always going to be on YouTube. They're always going to be on Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. They're bound to run into some porn. Don't panic. Let them know that porn is not education. Ask them what they wanted to learn about that led them to porn. You should be the source of education for accurate sex information, because remember, porn is entertainment, not education. They should be learning from you, the parent or the caregiver, and not from their peers or some sensationalized version of sex. And a fun game to try is called What's in a Name. And I like this game because we really start to ask ourselves what we think of or how words affect our identity. Um, so what's in a name? It goes like you write down a name that they call other people. So unfortunately, the first word I can think of is like the word slut. Um, when you write that word down, you write how that person is described, or like um the words that fit that description, and then look up the definition in the dictionary and see like, is this really what I think of that person? Is this really how I want to classify this person? The whole point is not to like, you know, make them ashamed of using a name, but rather the effect of words that we have on people. And finally, we have the young adult stage. You can start to have more adult conversations with them when they're in high school and going up and beyond, like from freshman year to graduation, right? Tell them where to find a medical provider. They're going to be old enough, to need some sort of sexual health information. Show them how to Google like a sexual health clinic. Find like a Planned Parenthood or something, right? Tell them about chlamydia and gonorrhea and how to use a condom. It is a little jarring to think that our young adults are going to be having sex, but it happens, right? So the best way that we can be there for them when they're having sex is to at least teach them how to take care of themselves when they're having sex. Keep your home stocked with menstrual products. If you have a kid that menstruates, please don't go like, scrambling for any sort of like tampon or napkin or whatever. Have it at the ready, just so like they're not ashamed. Sadly, people who menstruate are still ashamed if like a little blood shows up in their pants. It totally sucks. So keep it stocked, okay, and then give them a space to explore their body. So like there will be a time, or there might be a time, that you catch your teenager masturbating. um if and when you do catch them masturbating, don't shame them. Simply say sorry for invading your privacy, and then let them go on about their masturbating in the room. Or if you catch them like, I don't know, masturbating in a space that's not private, be like, or you can say, that's more of a private alone time thing to do. So that would be great if you did that in the privacy of your room. Don't shame them. Totally natural, like I said earlier. Safety and consent in the young adult stage is also important. You have to talk to them about their current boundaries. What are they comfortable doing and what they're not comfortable doing, and how they're respecting other teens' boundaries. Giving them body confidence is very important. And what I mean by body confidence is the ability to listen to their body and respond to its needs. Because when we can respond to our body's needs, we can make choices without a doubt. Oh, I don't like how I'm feeling right now. My chest is like, or is, my heart is racing. So I'm going to back out of this situation because I need to distance myself. And that is powerful, to give yourself permission to like take control of the situation however you seem fit, right? In the young adult stage, they are going to be continuing their exploration. They're probably going to, play around with piercings, with tattoos, with fashion choices, with changing their hair color. Don't shame them. Let them explore. Let them make their mistakes and find their way to however they feel most authentic, right? I like the way you express yourself is a great affirmation for your teen. Don't critique or control them. Don't be like so judgy, allow them to make their mistakes because they're going to feel vulnerable, right? I think we all know what it was like to be a teenager at one point or another, and when mom and dad were like, I don't like that shirt you're wearing, I'm like, no mom, no dad, this is who I am, you never understand. But in reality they do understand. They're just trying to watch out for us. Let's not be like the shamey parent. We have to give the kids a safe space to like discover their own identity for themselves. And like I said, you can share your experience of when you were a teenager, right? You can tell them, oh, I remember what it was like when I was your age and I explored and I did all that stuff. That could be a great way to bond with your teenager. Share some wisdom, pass down what you've learned to them, and hopefully they'll learn from our mistakes, right? Again, in media literacy for young adults, give them a time to share anything that they found interesting on the internet so that you know what they're consuming, and you're also like, aware of what how the world is right now. um, they will be engaging in porn a lot more often, so tell them, always, always, always remember that porn is not entertainment. It is, or porn is only entertainment, but it is not education. Please don't mistake porn for accurate uh, education. It is a fantasy. So uh, approach with caution, right? And a fun game to try with your young adult would be a Q&A session where you trade questions. Keep it lighthearted, uh, you ask a question, they answer, they ask a question, you answer, and then you just go back and forth. But like, don't go digging too deep. Like, teens are going to be vulnerable and they're going to shelter a little bit. So something light and open-ended, like uh what do you think goes well with this top? Something like that. It's a way to build trust and a foundation for respect for you and your young adult. So uh I hope everybody enjoyed this really quick 101 on how to talk to kids about sex. This isn't extensive, so I do encourage you all to go to these resources because they are amazing. Sex positive talks to have with kids, talking about sex and talking to your kids about sex, all great books. And I've also included here some great resources for you to visit on your own time. Scarletine, Pflag, and Planned Parenthood are just some of like the great resources for you to visit should you want more information on how to talk to your kids about sex. And I hope that this provides you a great starting point so that you can empower your kids to be shame free, to be liberated, and to be in control of their sexual health. So thank you very much, Pflag, for having me on.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Tim. That was such a great presentation. I loved how everything was broken down very clearly and really talking about why it's important to talk about these specific items and to reinforce them at specific ages is incredibly important. I think perhaps one of the best messages that comes out through this presentation, especially when we're talking about the younger years from toddlers up to age 9, is really the idea of deconstructing shame and deconstructing perhaps how we all have learned about our identities or learned about our bodies or learned about sex and consent when we were younger. As you're going through that presentation, I'm thinking about situations when I was younger and I'm like, oh, I wish I had an answer for this, or I wish I didn't feel ashamed about that. And it's not necessarily that my parents just didn't know any better at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all about really, as a parent or even as an educator, if there's any educators here, you want your kids and your students to really be um, better off than the childhood that you had. And this is really all rooted in those thoughts and in those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Some really great comments and some great feedback already in our live chat. Great resource list. Thank you for the great info. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in here, or maybe even send us an email. We could always get in touch with Tim for a little bit of that. I don't think there's any questions there, and it was so comprehensive. I said that I might pull some questions just to unpack some things. I don't have any questions because you did such a great job of really diving in deep. Despite this being, billed as a 101, I think it really provides parents with a really great starting point in their own journey and to own that opportunity. You got to learn how to breastfeed your kids. You got to learn how to change a diaper. You're gonna have to learn to talk to them about sex, and that's
Right.
normalized.
Mm-hmm. Breastfeeding. Come on, don't shame it. It is normal. Baby's hungry. Come through, mama.
Did you have any parting words for us before we sign off for the evening?
Um, I just hope that whoever has been watching this workshop will take whatever they need and whatever they don't need, throw the rest away. Because it's impossible to absorb all that information in just like the hour. But I do hope that you, as a parent or a caregiver, or just anyone that works around kids, can at least have a jumping off point. I hope that I've given you some tools to help direct a conversation with your kids so that you know and they know that sex is normal. Sex happens. How did we even get into this world in the first place, right? And we should be having these conversations to lead healthier, sexier lives, right? So, yeah, just please help be that beacon of light to the kids so that we can have a better standard for sex education moving forward.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was really great. One last question that we do have, are the slides
Mhm.
available? The great thing about our event right now is that it's going to be available for repeat views shortly after it ends. So these videos will always be up on YouTube, all of our Coffee Night Let's Chat events. And so if you wanted to revisit this video, or if you weren't able to join us here for the whole presentation and caught the latter end of it, you could always repeat that and view it in your own time. And subscribe to us. It's like I'm a social media influencer. Subscribe, please. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's all we got for tonight. We'll sign off for the evening. Thank you all very much. Our next Pflag event is going to be our Coffee Night support meeting. That's going to be on the second Monday in August, and it will be on Zoom, not streaming, obviously, for the support meeting aspect and keeping things anonymous. But it'll be on August 9th at 7 o'clock. And if you haven't signed up yet, just head on over to our Facebook page or our website to sign up for our online event registration so you can get signed up and get those email updates. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, and thank you, Tim.
Thank you.